Hi, my name's Tim and I am an English teacher. I'm currently teaching in Granada in Spain in Language Academy, so teaching Trinity English, mostly for B1s, B2, ISE1, ISE2. So this is my sample lesson. Okay, so I'm going to do a screencast of a PowerPoint that I would use for teaching the past perfect. Okay. Right. So, right, the past perfect. Now, we use this tense specifically for talking about a past event that happened before another past event. Okay? Now, how do we form? What's its construction? Right, so it's subject plus had or had not plus the past participle. Here's an example. The train had left the station. So subject, the train had left. Past participle, leave. Train had left the station. Obviously in the negative, that would be the train had not left the station. One point on that is during spoken and informal written English, we contract had and not to have hadn't. It's important that you know that we do that only for spoken and informal written English. If you are writing business English, you really should not contract anything. Okay. Now let's have a look at this further. So really, it helps us describe the order of events. So let's have a look at a timeline. Now this helpfully demonstrates what I mean by the order of events. So let's have our first event. So I arrived at the station at 7:15. Okay, and let's have another event. At 7 o'clock, the train left the station. So the train left the station before I arrived. Now, using the past perfect, we can describe that without using the time. So, by the time I arrived at the station, the train had already left. So, by the time I arrived at the station at 7:15, the train had already left 15 minutes earlier. And this construction is classic use of the past perfect. By the time gives us a reference to the time, obviously. So by 7:15, I arrived at the station and the train had already left. And we use already a lot with the past perfect because something has, and it always goes between the auxiliary and the past participle. Right? And when we're talking about multiple actions in the past, we follow a similar pattern. So my partner arrived home, and before that, I washed the dishes, I prepared a meal, and I fed the cat. And using the past perfect, use the same construction again. By the time my partner arrived home, here, I had washed the dishes, I had prepared a meal, and I had fed the cat. But this is this is good English. There's one more thing that I think really makes it great English, and that is by writing it this way. By the time my partner arrived home, I had washed the dishes, prepared a meal, and fed the cat. Here, had refers to washed, prepared, and fed. But because it is a list of actions that happened in the past, we don't actually need to keep repeating had, in the same way as we don't need to repeat the subject I. And this really makes for a nice fluent English sentence. Although this isn't wrong here, this is definitely better. Okay, right. So that should be about a small little lesson. Okay, hope to hear from you soon.